another live. I want to share some things with you today. 10. We're going to go over 10 items or 10 keys to self-mastery. Now, I'm not speaking to someone who has fully mastered themselves. I'm in the process. I'm a student. I'm going to continue, but it is something that's important to me. Having found my golden thread, having the opportunity to navigate and continually, daily work on myself and to learn, to be able to hear from people who are speaking sometimes in ways that the average Joe would miss, I am very happy to be invited into some of the spaces to work on, and that's a specific thing that they called me into, as we have spaces for self-mastery. In the spiritual community, the thing that's driven me is this ideal, this vision, this joy that I had as a child to grow myself in a certain way. Some of us watched old kung fu movies. Some of us were exposed to much older people in our African traditions, even the old heads, and there was just something about them, right? An energy, a strength. And so now you've been called into coming into a space of maturity, and some of you are also, like Jacqueline as well, having things that have occurred in life to move you into another space. And so you are now someone that people come to. So let me list these 10 things, and I want to at least share, why is self-mastery important to me? That term. I don't want it to be cliche in my life. This is, a journey that I'm on with my consciousness in this body, and I feel like I've been given a special opportunity to come into different levels of awareness and also to dissolve, to unlearn, which is also part of our process of learning, to come into deeper levels of knowing who we are and who we're not. So what I have down here is, self-mastery keys. Why? For me, I want to know the signs of the times. Being able to discern what's actually happening in a time, because typically a mass amount of the people that we're surrounded by in your circles, for those of you who are watching, and maybe you're one of the people, I've definitely been one of the people, are being led this way and that way. But when you have a level of self-mastery, certain things that would pull on you may not be able to grasp you. You might be either too sticky or too slick, to be held onto. The next thing is to be able to be my own courageous leader. What does it mean to have courage, to have heart, to be able to move into a situation, even if you're scared, to identify that fear, to have a discussion with it, but not let it lead you in another direction. When you start to do this in your life, the interesting thing that happens to you is you cultivate a different layer of strength, and that also adds to your discernment. So where one person might sell out or might be drawn, and we can forgive everyone because everybody has their weakness, but you can always learn from it, you might not be. And then you begin to make choices that empower you, and you taste what it is to be more spiritually, physically sovereign. And I know that word is thrown around a lot, but to see people act in their sovereignty, to see the most downtrodden person stand up for themselves regardless of what's going on, is a very empowering thing. And that's beyond any so-called consequences. So they know something. Maybe they know something that the average Joe, hey, no disrespect, Joe, the average Joe, Jeff, Jane, and Ez don't know. So I got a brother named Joe who's on right now. Here's the next one. To be able to use sound logic. To be able to access sound logic. We have a logic, a programming that's been given to us that isn't benefiting us all the way. So to be able to identify that through your own journey, right? And then to navigate in and with a logic where a logic will also, it will precipitate a result. You'll have a result that you can look at and say, oh, this is good. Okay, so when you work and you start to master yourself in certain ways, wow, the results of the decisions that you make and the courage that you've cultivated and in the wisdom of what you see in action will also show you a result that lets you know you're going on the right direction, you're in the right path. And you can still question that in time based on a long history of things that you've been paying attention to. This is something you can start at any time. All right, the last one. Maybe you'll be surprised, maybe you've already experienced this. Self-mastery keys, one of the things that happens is you bring in a timeless joy, a real joy in your heart, right? And it continues. Now, I said it's a joy that you can't get rid of. One example would be the journey that I have with the ocean, all right? No matter how hard the surf, how weak or tired I feel, and of course, we know that there's endorphins being pulled out there, but because I've been at it consistently for a long time, the joy that I feel surprises me. It catches me off guard. Before I go in, waking up in the morning, heading out there, and what I receive and what I continue to receive in terms of wisdom throughout the day, because I'm connecting to waters. Same when I connect with the land and the wind out there and the sun, the elements, and then the people, because this energy that's moving through The ocean coming into Tulum, coming into this quadrant of the earth experience, also permeates and moves through the medium of the people. And one of the questions I'd love for you to consider as I prepare to go through this is, again, we talk about being unified, being a union, being in one thing. So the unified field theorem, it's not something that needs to be solved. We are in a unity as it is. When I speak to harmonizing duality, what I'm doing is saying, let's dissolve the false vision, the illusions. Let's dissolve the distortion that allows us to treat each other in such a way that we have forgotten. It's a direct example of us having forgotten actually what we are to each other. And in essence, we're only mistreating ourselves. And so this is the big push right now, is to come into different layers of forgetfulness. And I can tell, I know the sign of the times, because during these times, there's just an onslaught. And so people can't catch their breath. And you want to stay on things, right? But if you really know what's going on, if you really have an idea of what we are to each other, what this is, what this space is that we're in together, that consciousness is in, you can choose very powerfully to act in certain ways, and you don't have to go with the crowd, but you can still be of benefit to people in hard times, okay? So let's go through 10. I think what I'll do is I'll list them really quick, and again, these are just 10. There's so many more and maybe even less. So I'm gonna read these out, you think about them, and then I'm gonna share where I'm coming from with this. Number 1 for self-mastery, and not in a specific order, although there are ways to build this. 1, self-awareness. We talk about consciousness, but now I'm speaking to awareness. I can differentiate between the two, and I want you to consider that. Number 2, now this is plebeian. Simple terms. Goal setting, intention setting, goal setting. Number 3, discipline. This is something you cultivate. Number 4, emotional regulation. That's important, right? And we're going to go into that. Resilience. Continuous learning. I'm going to just give you a high. That was number 6, continuous learning. Number 7, mindfulness. Ooh, we can talk about that too. Number 8, healthy habits. All right. Number 9, positive relationships. Number 10, reflection. Now I'm going to go over these again, and I'm going to share a little bit in depth. So for those of you, I'm going to tag Mantorship. You brothers, we haven't got the workshops going. Consider this a mini workshop, and I would love to have you guys reflect on it. We're going to talk about some of this on Wednesday, the one that most sticks out for you and that you'd like to work on, okay? Now, the self-awareness, believe it or not, we talk about consciousness. Consciousness is just a matter of what happens when spirit and matter are bound together through the womb of woman and comes through into this place to have its experience. The awareness is the awakening, and the anamnesia, as one would say, or the forgetting of the falsehood and coming into the real gnosis, the real knowing of self. So self-awareness could also be not self-awareness. I pause for the transmission. Do you get what I'm saying? Self-awareness, but there is an aspect of you that is not this self that is being, we are, what you see is an energy expression of thought. That is not the real power. The power is what you cannot see inside of me, right? Emanating from the ether. So the aspect of what has not been manifested, the real potential and power. So this is an expression of the thought form of that is known as among things, okay? So having an awareness of the not self can also help you to detach from different thought forms that we get caught up in, aka the ego, and that is beneficial for self-mastery because you're really learning to master the self, the ego, the body, the mobile that your consciousness is navigating, the matter. Okay? Consider it. We can go deeper during the Obsidian Soul Lounge. Goal setting. Well, think of goal setting as like you want it to be clear, productive, achievable. We've heard this. Setting smart goals. Also, intentionality. There's an ambition. There's something that you've come here to experience. Your higher self, yourself, the signal that is you, by incarnating into a resonant body that shifts its frequencies and that you align to. And so, we're definitely got the Soul Lounge coming up, my dear. And I'm very happy to announce that, but I'm going to be on a different platform. So thank you for putting that smile into my heart. Right? So there's the goal setting. We can set goals that aren't beneficial to us. So for the men, I'm speaking specifically, your goal setting, it's very important that you do this because there's an attainment that happens when you do it. Align your goal setting to things that are going to benefit the people who, you really want to benefit besides yourself, and that are aligned to principles that you've discovered are beneficial for you in the long term, beneficial for the people attached to you in the long term, beneficial for society, beneficial for the universal human to emerge and have the opportunity, not beneficial for just me as a black man, just you as an AKA white man, because this is just a husk, okay? And so we are being divided by the husks, and also divided by we'll get into it when I get to healthy habits. We're being divided by issues that we haven't even touched upon, and we never get to do anything beyond scratch the surface. But what the issue at hand that would, I think, bring us close together is far beneath the surface, and it takes very deep intention and maturity. Aloha, Anastasia. All right, the next one is discipline. So we got self-awareness and not self-awareness. Okay, dig into that. Goal setting, which we can say is having an intention, and an intention that supersedes just our quote-unquote needs, but incorporates your core goals, your core values, your principles, and incorporates your golden thread. This is the work that I help men with. All right, discipline. Now, here's where we have trouble with discipline as men. Sometimes we seek to go overboard. We seek to lift so much. Discipline is a day-to-day. Maybe some of you guys have read The Richest Man in Babylon, or other stories, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but other things. That's Kiyosaki, and I forget actually the guy who wrote The Richest Man in Babylon. What I'm speaking to is the ability to save little by little. Those of you who are in a church, the tithing, I'm not going to get into that aspect here, but what I'm saying is there are principles that you can employ little by little that add to a large cultivation, and discipline is one of them. You do a little bit so you can actually create a journey and a path to building discipline, such as today I'm going to do one push-up, I'm going to set a timer to do the push-up, I'm going to remove everything, or I'm going to come into this space and I'm going to drop down and do one, tomorrow 2, tomorrow 3, etc. I'm speaking from someone who has lost the use of their body in the past, all right, and was unable to do even one push-up after being able to bust out 100, 120 in a row, and had kidney issues, and I built myself back up. The way that I did it was, of course, one. I said, I'm going to do one. I couldn't do one, and I cried. So I was like, I thought it's over for me. But no, I did half a one, and then the next day I was able to do a whole one. And I thought, well, damn it, if I did one today, I'm doing 2 tomorrow. Next thing you know, I'm back at it. So you can do it. You can do it from one step, even a half step at a time. But ain't no half step in what I'm telling you. Discipline, emotional regulation. Now, when I say emotional regulation, because we remember the song Regulator, it's not emotional termination. It's not ignoring your emotions, okay? Not ignoring your emotions, it's channeling. Sometimes men who've now begin to unfold and unwrap things, now we have a huge amount, a surge of the energy of emotion that's been enabled now to move through open channels that we have in our body. And so a lot of times, what we've been taught is to waste that energy, right? Like a wastegate, you build up with the turbo, and it's all gone. Some of the ways that I navigate the extra surge of energy and emotion is to now transmute it. I'm moving it into something else. If I get pissed, I can take that anger emotion and now pour it into becoming even more logic. You could say hyper logic. Well, what is it that I want to achieve? And now I have a strength to achieve. I have a strength to speak out. I have a strength to be more courageous, right? So there's a fire within me, but I'm not letting it consume me. I'm not letting it consume other people. Now, if it needs to consume other people, so be it. So that's another part of me owning the fullness of who I am, but I am able to take it and not overdo, and what I found so far is the more that I practice that, the more that I have a healthy appreciation for my anger, my emotions, because now I'm having dialogues with them. Same could be said for your fear. Same could be said for your insecurity. All these things are keys to understanding yourself. This is where the self-mastery comes in, because you're not those emotions. These emotions are granted to you. They're moving through the physical form that you have, like, radio receiving a signal, and you, as the controller, get to turn up the volume, turn down the volume, apply it. Consider what I'm sharing here, all right? That's emotional regulation. Now, nervous system regulation, so regulation is actually just being able to consciously become more aware of what's happening, to pull yourself back, and then to say, to be able to dial it down so that you can continue to be present through what's going on and not blow a gasket. and I've blown plenty gaskets in my life. And life gave me new gaskets, so let's honor it. Yes, alchemist of emotions. And you can do this with your passion. When you don't do this with your passion and your arousal, now you have, you can be in the space of overdoing it in your sex, right? Overly masturbating, getting into porn, sexual addictions. I've navigated all of these, by the way, so I'm open to speak to these things when it's appropriate. This is not a channel for children, but for those who are mature and at the same time in the proper time and place. And I definitely want to get into more of that with you fellas, because I have had a journey with that. And no, not every man is not a sex addict, but we've been given habits that aren't beneficial to us, that erode and take away the strength that we are to cultivate with that in those centers so that we can move them through ourselves. Resilience. What you see if you look at my Instagram, at my, I don't know, what would you call it? My description, my bio, robust. What do I mean by robust? And resilience. Resilience is you can continue to go, but the robustness is if one part of the machine gets injured, you keep going. If by some chance, I'm not wishing this upon myself, an arm gets lopped off, I'm not going to call it quits on life. I'm going to say, patch it up, fix it up, and let me continue. Because I know what I'm here to do, I just need to be here, and I need the mouthpiece. If the mouthpiece disappears, then I'll write it down to get the message out. There's always a way, if you understand. And this is how you can build robustness is by understanding what is it that you're here to do. So we tie that into your golden thread. But you want to build that up because a lot of people, if something goes wrong, they get a scratch on the car, they want to get rid of it, right? But really, we just need the vehicle to get us from point A to point B, and we need to deliver a message, and we need to have an experience. So consider that. Consider that. I don't wish anything upon this frame, which has already been through so much, nor your frame, okay? But like, we're in magical, powerful vehicles for the expansion and awareness of our consciousness and the experience here for the divine, okay? The next thing, continuous learning. I spoke to that, right? Here's what I put. Continuous learning helps you to adapt and also drop problems and unlearn delusion. So for me, Ezra, I'm sharing these things on self-mastery. Why? Because I've been interested in it. I can admit, hey, these aren't all of everything that you need to know for self-mastery. Quite honestly, it might just be one of them that would be necessary, but the ability to go all the way. So we hit it from different angles, okay? Now to get into a continuous learning means, I don't know, but it's a decision to be willing to learn and unlearn. And if you take on this, if you take on beginner's mindset, as it's been called, and you may have a different sense of awe. You may continue to keep the channel open to receive different levels of information and knowledge, and also to be humble enough and open enough to allow for even the lies that have been taught to us to serve their purpose, to give us the ability now to decipher and to discern different things that might catch another person out, and also be able to now move from a graduated standpoint, a more powerful, aware standpoint. Why? We are in an illusion. So the illusion is full of lies. A lot of you lying ass people. It's true, but you can switch gears and start getting on the truth. Many of us have believed in things. We have beliefs that we'll come to find out aren't true. It's great if that happens. Don't crush. You can fall to pieces for a little bit, but it's also good news. I'm here to tell you. Why? Because if you've made it through that, and you can look and do number 10, which is reflect on it, you might be able to garner some things from a good experience of hardship that will make you a great person. So this is continuous learning. Think unlearning and think willingness to look at it with the eyes of a child and to receive the beauty. And if you've ever seen a child here learning things, their eyes be like all big and happy, it's a really beautiful thing to have that joie de vivre and that joy and that interest in life. And so many of us lose that awe through the disillusionment, through the hard times. I want you to reclaim that back. Be willing to unlearn. Choose to learn for the whole journey in your life, and then choose to learn things. Look and find out what brings you awe. My golden thread of intimacy is unending. I have an intimate relationship with the ocean. I've had intimate relationships with people, human beings, women specifically. And I've gone into that, and it always brings me into the space of awe. And like I said in the very beginning of this, it's a gift that keeps giving, because it happened for me. And I can remember, and I still get that flood of good feelings. I've kept the bliss in certain areas and been able to release what is not cool. because the bliss was so amazing. Now, I didn't forget, right? I'm not trying to make the same mistakes and errors that I've made in my youth and immaturity, even last year, but I am hoping and choosing to learn and to apply the lessons towards the next group of people, family, the events, the gatherings, and the sole intention that I move with in this life. The next one, we say mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is a funny word that we use a lot. What does it mean? Come on, guys, right? And we talk about meditation as well in regards to mindfulness. But one thing that's very interesting is how delusion can come in this thing that we call mindfulness. We can use broken, busted machinery and to create a whole world that's built in delusion. So you want to use your mindfulness as presence and also utilize it to step into detachment. And we want to continue to identify what is realistic. When I say this, I mean, what is the underlying conjugate nature of the reality that we have chosen to have an experience in, right? Think of it like you plugged into a video game. All right, in the video game, you playing Nintendo knows, Jane, that you're not Mario, but you start to identify with Mario, and he gets a mushroom, and he gets a flower, he's shooting fireballs, and he's jumping on turtles, and he went down a drain pipe, he collected all this money, now he can fly, he hits a flagpole, he's fighting a big turtle with spines on his back, and you start to really identify with that, and in the game, you die, and you press the reset button, you start over. Perhaps we can be in something very similar. So there needs to be lessons that you learn in Super Mario, those of you who are old enough to remember or have the sim, and then also being able to detach from the whole process. So this is what we speak to for mindfulness, because then you can bring in the greater mind that isn't stuck in matter to contemplate and to observe and to be present here and be in the world and not of the world, but still cruise through it. And that's beneficial. And these are things that are cultivated in one's process of self-mastery. I'm gonna tag a couple things on at the end of this. The next one is healthy habits. What is a healthy habit? What do we mean? Healthy habit, let's look at being able to discern, right, for what's good for you as an individual, and also you as an individual in connection with the other aspects of individuals as a totality. There's not a duality there now. I'm just speaking to ice that turns to water, that turns to steam, that shows up as snow. It's just one thing. You feel me? Think about it. Now keep it in mind. When I say healthy habits, here's the thing that no one's talking to, of course, in this space, but it's just me on the live, so I'm not holding anyone at fault, but these are the things that I look into. I look into actually the mass psychology of us as a people, as human beings, what has been our experience, right? The different experience of the different versions of us, black, white, these, come on, bullshit terms, right? And my hair is pepper. What am I beyond these names, these false names? So that's the delusion that we practice. And so within there, we are surrounded by funny habits that aren't healthy for us, and we have to pay attention. I'm saying society's mass illness. You can zoom out and take a look at that. And then find an idea of what are actually healthy habits. What brings you into more of a youthful stance? How does your body feel? This is where the embodiment comes in. What are you doing that cultivates more strength? We're going to get old. The hairs are going to turn gray. It's fine. It's cool. This body is, of course, through entropy. It's going to dissolve to make space for the greater body that's growing inside me, this spirit, this energy, for its next experience. I'm speaking to, and consider this, mass psychopathy, the sociopathy, psychopathy, however you want to pronounce it, tomato, right? The schizophrenia, the fear, the overconsumption, dishonesty, and confusion. I'm speaking to these things because they exist, and it's important that we talk to it because these are factors that contribute to the overall programming and the demeanor and the things that are pressed upon us to draw us into confusion, and they're not often spoken to. Not just as a result of something that's been used from the DSM-5, the diagnostics manual to understand, and that has also been, kind of played. And when I say played, I mean the people who have invested in some of the means that are used to diagnose us improperly in order to turn us into commodities, right? So you're a human. seems like an oddity, but you don't have to be a commodity. Wouldn't you rather be a community that gets to operate in unity? Don't you understand what I'm saying? The next one, healthy habits. So if you want your healthy habits to help you to come out of confusion, internally and externally. Dis-ease. You prefer to be in ease. Flowing, right? What's not flowing? I have tightness in my leg. Well, I need to stretch this out. I need to do something different in order to be able to flow my energy in a certain way. So healthy habits. How are you eating? What are you ingesting? What are you looking at? What's being thrown your way? And how do you navigate that? Because you want to look at positive results. Healthy habits give you positive results, not just short term, but in the long term. This is what we want to cultivate. I'm working with grown men so that they're cultivating a long-term plan for their children. I'm not saying they're going to stop them from being individuals, but we want to cultivate men, young women who are stronger, who have better nobility, who are more courageous than we were, and safeguard them so that they can make the passage of being able to access that strength and show up in this world and create the new world, which is happening, all right? And also, I spoke to discipline before, but in regards to discipline, you see, okay, living in Tulum will discipline you in a certain way. Wherever you live in the realm, in this frame, in this space, you're going to be disciplined. But it's another thing now to know that you're in an advanced school, to know that you're in an advanced process, and choosing to meet the process, choosing to meet the matrix as a co-creator, and then begin to create an even more powerful and profound experience for yourself and for those around you by activating all of what you are and then being able to present that. That's a different vibe. That's appealing to me. How about you? All right. The next one is positive relationships. All right, let's start with yourself. Don't you want to know what it feels like to expand in more positive relationship with yourself? Something many of us weren't taught, but we still have a yearning for. We have a yearning for union. We have a yearning to connect. Some of the men have been speaking to a yearning to be with women who can have respect for them, who want to understand them, who hold them in a certain way, who they can express themselves to, who they can trust so that they don't mind sharing all the things that they've cultivated. Because what happens is they've cultivated, shared, it's been wiped away, speaking from, definite past experience, and you got to start over again. Cool thing about a man is, yeah, you can keep doing it, but man, it gets harder, all right? So be it. Ultimately, you cultivate a positive relationship with yourself, that's going to present you with the opportunity to have wisdom, discernment, a deeper experience of self-love, boundaries that aren't necessarily out of fear, but out of a knowing of what's good for you, which will ultimately be good for people, which will create a resonance within your frame, which will open you up to, guys, you want to hear this, right? Better sex, better relationships, more money, fulfillment in your family, in your household. You're going to enjoy life more. Ask me how I know. If you don't even go out and make more money, the value of the money that you make will increase. That's my little secret hack. Why? Because you know what you want to spend it on. You know who you want to spend it on. You know what you want to do with it. And when you do what you do, what you're doing is positive, it's beneficial, it's effective, and it helps you to create, and you can see it increment by increment. Doesn't that make you feel giddy? That it's bringing you to a place that you want to be, that it's going to have a positive effect. And I'm talking about debt notes, money that comes with no value as it is. You are the value. You're the currency. Don't ever forget that. Last one, number 10, reflection. Reflection. What does that mean? Reflection. I'm a reflection of you. True or false? All right? Reflection is actually taking the opportunity to think, but not get lost in the thought. It's to allow things. It's like you can think of this as integration. You need time. Intention really helps. To have some support because of our natural proclivity to delude ourselves, right? Because of the programmings that we've received. There are some people who work to clear different programmings and their eyesight's different. So you can have, it can be foggy, right? Those of you who have navigated with cataracts, I have in the past as well, and I know how to navigate through that. I've had my eyesight kind of disappear for a little bit and been able to bring it back. I've also worn glasses in the past and found some other way without surgery to be able to strengthen my eyes and see again. It actually was better than 2020. I'm not there right now, but what I'm saying is you'll be able to see through distortion. And if you can see clear in a time of distortion, you look at people differently. You behave differently. You'll be able to pause, and you ultimately can, and you want to, apply this to yourself. So willingness to do more and better is important after that reflection. It's not just reflecting and saying, oh, okay, I see what that is, right? You want to embody it, and the embodiment comes in the actions that you take next, okay? The next one is also as part of this, knowing your why and your how much. I know we're told who, what, where, why, when, how much, but you can cross the other ones away because they're really, you don't have to, but I suggest, this right here. What is your why and how much? Why is it that you want to do what you've come here to do, what you feel inclined to do? So that's a great way to kind of check in to see where you're at and be honest with yourself. And then how much are you willing to give away? How much are you willing to invest? How much are you willing to? And also we can ask, hey, if you look at the whys of what you've been doing and you're not happy with your life right now, what have you been paying into the pot, whether you're aware of it or not? Is that really what you want? Or do you want to take inventory of what you're processing, what you're spending? Where's your money, your energy, your attention going? And is that where you want it to go? Is it creating what you desire? With the coaching and stuff, the guidance, right? Now I charge a price. The price is important. Here's the thing. People spend the money on many other things and don't have a result, a net result, the net, as my brother would call it, that is beneficial for you, that helps you to move forward in the future, that's aligned with who you actually are. And so here's the time right now, amidst all the craziness, for some of you, and a majority of you, because that's how it goes in a reset, you'll get the opportunity to make some great decisions and to take this time to cultivate yourself. You will also have the test and the trials to pull you away from self-mastery. And you just have to navigate, figure out, you can get with this, or you can get with that. I suggest you get with this, because this is where it's at. Self-mastery is a beautiful thing. Now, there are many other things besides these 10 that you can utilize to really, help you to grow in that space, if that's important to you, if you have the ears to hear. And of course, as Riyah, an eternal student, and happy about it. I'm running the marathon, even when I'm sitting down. And the intention is to grow in awareness, to apply that conscious awakening consistently to those around me, to share good information, to create spaces for us to come and to grow, because that's what I'm called to do. And the growth is really in remembering what we are, who we are, to have space to say, oh, I guess I'm not that. Oh, I guess I don't have to do that anymore. And what happens is it frees you. To conclude this, I'm going to share a little story, a little insight. And this is something that happens if some of you have come across a master. They know how to speak to you or share a message to you in such a profound way. And often it's with far less words than I've used. This was a little workshop for you, okay? And a little invitation for you to journal, to process. Take any one of these things, especially you brothers in Mantorship. And those of you who, would like to come and join me in the Manbodiment movement, which is going to be self-mastery classes, but more, we just want to go a little bit deeper because we have more time than we would in Mantorship and build on those things. Build. So I have two friends, right? Max and Max. Maybe you remember the story. And Jeff, who's here as well. So we're out at this beach, seeing Khan. I happen to go meet up with another brother who's a client of mine and also a cool friend. And so we go to see him, and my other homies are there, and we're just talking. Dudes talking about the beach and speaking to some of the crazy experiences we've had in Tulum. So these guys are telling me about this adjustment that they just had from this master healer who's in, I believe, Playa del Carmen. I don't have his information, so don't hit me up too crazy, but I would like to figure it out. Max, if he's still here, I'd love to get his info from you, Max's, and go experience his adjustment. So the guys go to this place, and they bring Jeff. Jeff is like telling me how skeptical he is because they walk into the place, and this guy's just got really humble, one room, I think it's even a studio for his work, table, one fork, maybe one spoon, a toaster or something. So what they're sharing is Jeff comes in and he's like, this guy's making his money, and if he's so good, why does he have so few things in the space? And then he proceeds to give the healing, and it was mind-blowing, and the brothers can't stop raving about what they experienced. Now, that was a lesson for me, and here's why. If you know a little bit about what it is to be here and what it is to have belongings, these are, of course, not material, but they are material. In that we are having this experience and we're projecting things and utilizing our energy to maintain everything that exists around us. There's some other assistance from the quote-unquote matrix. But when you own something, that thing also has a relationship with you. There's a dialogue that's going on between it. There's an energetic holding on it, a dispersal of some of your energy. And so this wonderful master has created a space of simplicity for himself so that he can channel more juju into the work that he does. And I thought, wow, I get it. Of course. Why? Because I've downsized my things and felt the surge of power from releasing all of the things. Now I still have a number of items in here. I got surfboards because I want to do surf things, and I have, some of the things to keep me here since I'm a bit in the jungle, so I don't want to have to keep going into town, even though I do it more often than I'd like. Not having a lot of things sometimes means not having a lot of things have you. And this is where you can bring in that energy that's different. So what I'm speaking to, I'm sharing the story, is a lot of what we've been told and what we've been taught and what we're encouraged to do actually takes away from the potency that we can show up as. I'm told, hey, as Instagram lives need to be 5-10 minutes, don't make them that long. Of course, I'll switch to YouTube, and it's not that I'm so worried about monetizing this. There's just some info that seems pertinent for me to share. And if you're interested in going deeper with me, I'm just sharing this little bit. Can you imagine, how deep we can go? And I'm serious about it. So this is what I choose to share in my spiritual sovereignty. And with the time that I've been given, it's an active, happy choice. And it brings me joy to share this information and then to put it out there. And I know that at least one of you will take this and consider, oh, damn, self-mastery, that's important to me. Those of you who are holding spaces that are considered self-mastery spaces in Tulum and elsewhere, those of you who are holding men's groups, are we digging into this and helping to cultivate something that's beneficial for the long term? I'm not just so we can make a penny here and there. There's a financial aspect that can be there. But really, there are some of you who are called to do this for the real reason of cultivating the men around you and the women around you and society and being a balance. You've been given all the tools, and so now it's your opportunity and your time. I'm calling you in to utilize those tools for the benefit of those around you and as well as yourself. You'll be taken care of. Trust in that, right? And also, it's a great opportunity to work in the space of self-mastery, because doing this work cultivates something different in you. And if you've had to go first, I'm sending you good mana and energy. Sometimes you have to go ahead. Sometimes you have to experience things before the masses to be able to help and support people. And so for me in Tulum, I've learned that's definitely the case. I've navigated different things and injuries, and I'm able to show up for people in a way from time to time that becomes second nature to me, but many people may not be able to or have the stomach or heart to do it in the same way. And this isn't a slight against those who have it. It's just saying cultivate it. And if you cultivated it, use it, because that's why it was given to you. And you choose how you desire to use it. And for me, I'm doing the same. And I go to bed feeling pretty okay, at the end of the day. And I wake up. And these are all results of the work. The work of doing what? Some of these 10 things. Let me run down the list, and then we close this live. This free workshop, right? Of just considering self-mastery, helping you to know the signs of the times, helping you to be courageous. You're courageous, your level of courageous as a leader unto yourself. Everyone's looking for leaders elsewhere. Be a leader amongst leaders and work together. To use sound logic. What is sound logic? It's going to create a better life for you. So you want to look at that and really identify what is a better life according to you in a compensatory manner, which means the definition shows up in logic and in life, not it's great and you hate your life. Let's be real and be honest, right? This is why a lot of men off themselves. We want you to be on and here. Okay? Now, 1, self-awareness. 2, goal setting, right? Clear and productive. 3, discipline. 4, emotional resilience. 5, resilience. Emotional regulation is 4. 5 is resilience. 6, continuous learning or unlearning. 7, mindfulness. Mindfulness defined as, again, presence and the ability to detach, and also what is realistic. Haha, what's realistic in illusion, right? Figure it out. Next one, healthy habits. Healthy habits that help you to discern, that help you to discern based on who you are as an individual, which means you need to discover that, all right? And then they allow you to keep in mind the actual journey that a large amount, a big group of the populace is navigating, because that will affect you as well. So if the entire masses, the majority of people are in a psychosis, all right, if they're operating from a narcissistic mind frame, it's important that you look into that. I'm not saying you be scared, it's just that you can counter it, or you can be the light in that space. When you like to, if you don't want to, maybe you need help, at least you can go to someone, who's got these things locked in. And the next and other one is, again, positive relationships with yourself. And the last one is reflection. Taking the time to reflect on what's happened to you, and then also coming to a conclusion, or at least, I don't know, maybe it's not a conclusion, but coming to okay, this is what it is at this point. And then having some external, internal, so you have at least a couple of different points of reference, being willing to reframe, and being willing to now, based on what you've considered, what you've learned, the lesson that possibly you've learned at this point in your journey, you take that lesson and you apply it, because what's going to happen is similar scenarios are going to come around. And it's not a cycle, it's actually a spiral. But which way are you going to go in the spiral? That's up to you. Huh? Centrifuge? Centrifugal. You decide. I pause for a little bit now. And this is just for us to take a moment of presence together, beyond the words that I've shared, for you to receive, for you to really receive what's been shared. I'm also going to share this on probably Facebook and maybe YouTube. Thank you so much for being willing to tune in with me, for being able to receive what little or however much. The invitation is here for those of you who tune in, to also share your thoughts on this process of self-mastery that you've been in, what it is, what it ain't, some key factors besides these 10 little bitty keys that I shared, and what's the journey for you? What would you like it to be? Do you have access to support in your journey of self-mastery? Are you in a place that you feel an environment that doesn't support you? I'd be open to having a talk and discussion, because what I'm able to see in any place that I go are the ways that you can utilize the space. It's not like you even have to come to Tulum to cultivate the advanced camp that you're in. Your awareness of how to use the space. I know how to utilize Tulum to grow myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, and it's not what you think. And it's not what everyone else is doing. And yet still I have the results. And so now at this point I'm open to sharing and to speaking, but I know the results that I have, the underlying core of what I'm utilizing to comprehend the space that I'm in. I've used it. I used it in Europe. I used it in Bali, Southeast Asia. I used it in Hawaii, I should say. It began in Hawaii even. And I'm able to use this in the States and even in Cali. So it's really independent of wherever you're at, but also dependent on where you're at. Dig? Thank you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll circle back later. So I got Mastermind coming up, which I'm actually excited for. So I'll catch my breath, have a little bite, and then I'm excited to get with my brother tonight and dive in. And for the masterminds, it's a joy to work one-on-one. That's for some of you who may not have access to men's groups, but you want to grow. You want to have the experience of a brother-brother journey, 8 weeks experience, and you want something quantifiable, right? Tangible results, and you're really interested in up-leveling your life from the inside out. So it's a really powerful activation, because I know how to do it. And then there are other benefits and bonuses that I can speak to later. So thank you for tuning in. Brothers of Mantorship Global, utilize this. It's another freebie. You're welcome. I love you guys. Silly. One man. Huh? That's right. No matter what's going on in this world, don't forget. And also remember, I'm playing with you. Don't forget that we're one man. Despite everything, we're still all one human navigating in this space. Yes, we have things that we need to put on the table to speak to the different hues of our human, the different ways that we've treated each other, right? To become aware of the different histories that created the psychopathy and the sociopathy and the narcissistic tendencies and the tacky, trashy, and terroristic behaviors that we can apply to ourselves, and also the betrayal feelings and the hurt, to come into a space of unity. There will be some who are called to that, and there will be some who are just continually called to division. Let's own it. Which one do you choose to be? Still part of a totality. It's just, let's know our role, and let's honor it and respect it both ways, and cultivate the strength to stand up in the truth of who you are. Put your foot down in the ground. Root, expand, and bear fruit. And may that be the case not only for you, but for the people who are close to you. This would be the end of this live. I thank you. I send you my aloha. It's the shaka right there. From Mexico, from my heart. And with the utmost amount of gratitude, utilize what I'm saying. Huh? All right. Aloha.